Hey everybody, I'm Mike McMahon, and you are watching Trekyards.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley. Yeah, today we're here to talk about episode 9, and this one's called Crisis Point. And this is basically, I like to describe it as Lower Decks the movie, because I'm sure it's the closest we'll get to a movie. And for Lower Decks, well, maybe. I mean, this might prove popular. In 10 years, we'll have a Lower Decks movie. I don't know. But as for right now, there was a lot of great stuff in this episode that was movie-related and tropey, which is fun. What did you think of this episode, my friend?
I'm mixed. I'm not sure what I think. I loved the start. I progressively liked it less and liked the end. So I'm confused as to what I feel. I've no idea what other people think. I've not looked at anybody.
This is maybe one of my favorites. I did love all the movie tropey things, and it did have a big feel to it. And I really appreciated a lot of what happened in this episode. It was fun, and I don't know. I just had a great time watching this one. It was very much like a, not really a departure from other Lower Decks episodes, but
It absolutely was. No, it absolutely was. They made it stylistically very different, and it felt different because of that.
Well, I guess, but I really appreciated it. I like this one quite a bit, but I don't know if I can rank it with the other ones because, like I said, it had a very movie vibe to it, and that was the point.
Liked the setup. I liked, and I predicted the start. Something was going to happen. Mariner was going to be chewed out by a mum. Like there's, made a lot of sense. But the thing that rubbed me the wrong way was that we got into criminally graphic violence by Mariner, and it felt horrible to watch. I didn't enjoy the middle because it went so excessive, like even more than Discovery, more than Picard. Like, to the point that, if it was a random no-name crew member's fine. She's literally disintegrating people she knows and enjoying every single time she murders somebody. And that was horrible to watch.
Holodeck program, Samuel, it doesn't matter.
Of people you know. It went way too far for me. And it makes me dislike Mariner a ton more. That said, though, it was going into a massive hole of this is really bad. Like, where it's going. And then it comes back up into why. And she has catharsis. But it did not need to take it anywhere as far. It was uncomfortable to watch for me because she's just enjoying murdering her friends. Now, obviously, you have a contrast to show a point. So her going so dark allowed her to go to a higher place. So at least it paid off.
I did not feel that way at all until about the third time watching it. I was really enjoying it, having a fun time. And then the third time watching, I'm going, wow, this might be a little excessive for some people. But to me, it's just the same as playing a video game with your friends online and have fun killing them online to win the game. So it was, to me, I had that separation of it's just and she even points it out to Tendi, who's the same as you. She's like, this is excessive. This is not you at all. She's like, just a holodeck program. Like, she was very much into it. And also the fact that it was compared to therapy, I love, because a lot of time for therapy, they'll say, write a letter to that person that's pissed you off, tell them everything you want to say, and then rip it up. It's the same kind of therapeutic idea, just taken to a holodeck situation where you can do that kind of stuff. I pointed out too last night in my first reaction review that it was a little excessive to be, laying the hurt on somebody or even killing somebody. But at the same time, I didn't realize that till like the third time watching it for me, because for me, I very much separated it into, this is just like a video game. Just something to take out your frustrations and your anger.
I get it, but the difference is, one is you've VR recreated your workplace, but you filled it with everyone's called Steve, and you shoot them with a gun, no blood splatter from a distance, versus you recreate your work and all your friends there, and you have a gun, you walk up to their face, say, hey Steve, point at their head, say, F you, I hate you, shoot them, look at their corpse and laugh, and then walk off. There's an underlying, I hate everybody.
Knowing for a fact they aren't dead.
Now, obviously, it was counterbalanced with Rutherford having his very unique story, which I thought was super unique. Although, and then Tendi was nice. We finally got answer to the Orion thing, somewhat, which was good to be addressed.
Most Orions haven't been pirates for more than 5 years now.
That was good. It was good. So yeah, like I said, I love the setup. I like the payoff. I'm happy I was right about the plot about the mum would be the overarching arc, and the way it was brought up was super clever. I mean, that's really, really smartly done. And Bourne says like, is pretty interesting.
That being said, there's a little bit of a plot hole with that, which we talked about a lot last night in our live, that I brought up because I didn't realize this till like the second viewing as well. But Mariner shows up in the program, and that surprised Mariner. She's like, "Oh, Boimler, you programmed me too. There's private stuff in those logs, which is fine."
Well, it's not fine, but it happened.
Oh, I know, but he said in another episode that he reads all the logs, which I assume are just the official logs, not the personal logs.
Yeah.
Now, so he didn't know that they were mom and daughter, but yet the program itself knew that she was the daughter and that the captain knew that she was the mom. So the computer used the personal logs and filled that in. That's a huge security risk.
But that was the joke. That's why she said you only had to do this. Like he used logs he shouldn't have, and that was the joke.
But why would he use logs he shouldn't have? Because he's Boimler. He goes strictly by the book.
Because he would specifically want. Remember, this is a private program for him to learn how to kiss ass better. So he used every bit of information he has, even in classified, locked stuff. Remember, it was never meant to use this way, and it was only meant to be used by him. So he's thinking, I want to be a captain. This won't hurt anybody. I'm not going to ask the captain details. No, I completely get it, completely buy it, and allowed for that clever end. So I was like, okay, cool.
But that's the biggest security risk in the world. To just say the holodeck, use all the personal logs to fill in this character. Then I'm going to go on the holodeck and get all the information I need out of this character.
If they tell you, that's the point, they're a real representation. Stuart, it's exactly the same as computer build a program that can defeat Data. It went so far beyond what it should be, logically, to the extreme. Exactly the same thing, no problem at all. Would have been nice if he'd said he had Rutherford help him hack, because he doesn't seem like the guy that can hack into systems. But I get the sense he kind of did like a loophole of technically the computer allowed it, even though it shouldn't, because it...
Yeah, but there should have been more of an explanation for that.
I mean, sure.
Because the way it's presented, people are like, well, Mariner reprogrammed the simulation, and so she maybe put it in there. And I'm like, well, no, because she didn't know that there was a Mariner character in the program when she redid it, because she was surprised to see her. So anyway, now the thing that I kind of want to talk about is one of the best meta references ever. When the credits are coming up, and she says, don't worry, you're like Zahn. You probably won't even make the final cut. Not a lot of people picked up on that, but Zahn is the Vulcan that was supposed to be in Star Trek Phase 2. and
TMP for a little bit.
And then, with the going from a Phase 2 to the movie, it got all changed. And he was in the movie, and he died right away, which I thought was funny. The character was in the movie, or not the character, the actor that was supposed to play Zahn was in the movie, and got killed by V'ger at the very beginning. I thought that was fantastically done, and even Boimler was like, "Who's Zahn?" Exactly. It was just a great reference, and I'm not sure how many people got that. I just wanted to point that out because, I thought I heard it the first time, and then second time with the subtitles, I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, perfect, yeah."
Yeah, because of the fast pace of this, there were so many good throwaway lines, and smart choices, and like the crash sequence, they both did the Voyager crash sequence and the Generations crash sequence in the same, and the Beyond crash sequence, all of the same crash. Yeah. And that was like, I mean, this is the kitchen sink approach. Although we didn't get any episode 9 that Sirius will do something special. Nope, didn't get anything special Sirius could do. So I guess
I thought that was going to happen in this episode for sure.
Well, he did say either 6 or 9 when we interviewed him, but he might have just got the number wrong. So I guess next week. I mean, it has to be. There's only one more. So.
Unless he's implying it can crash well. Who knows? I don't know. It can roll.
It can roll. Although speaking of, what do you think of the first scene? And am I right? Those are the 2 aliens from TNG? The ones where they had to be on opposite sides of the ship? Because I'm pretty sure the dudes with the beards are.
The rat guy is for sure. Yeah. The other race looks like another race of reptilians, not the same race.
It's the food source race. Yeah. What do you think of that whole thing?
Frills and stuff.
And whose side do you go on there? Because it was quite a straight into it scene.
Well, I laughed at the reference because I'm like, TNG. It's one of the first episodes too.
Yep.
But
they were terrorists, weren't they, Stuart? The fish. That's why they were trying fish. Was a lot
No. That's a different episode. My
Okay,
friend.
ignore that. Go back.
Yeah. No, this is. It was fun to see them again. I think the lizards are going to confuse a few people because I think they're a different race of lizards, but they're still lizards. Because this is on the same planet, I think, and the other reptiles that they engage in TNG, where they were trying to make relations with. So, yeah, it was. It was funny. Who do I side with? I don't know. I feel bad for the poor little lizards who just want to bask, but they are a good food source. We are good, don't you know? But yeah, it would be nice just to bask without being eaten. I thought that was kind of funny. But the overreaction from the mom about that, like, yeah, I get it, the Prime Directive, Starfleet, and all, but the moral implications of it, it's very. I don't know what to say about it, to be honest. They're both right.
Yeah, I thought the mum was less bad this week. Like, she's still a bad captain, but she didn't go overboard. I think Mariner was more in the wrong this episode, but I think that was intentional because she was going through a crisis. So, and then the fact that she, I hope that this, and so I guess kind of skip right to the end. I hope that because of this episode, she'll actually now be a better character. That is not a one-off. That is now we got through the season hump of her being really unlikable in those certain traits. I hope that is the growth factor, and we're going to move past that because I think she'll be a better character once we get over that.
I think it will be a permanent change, actually, just because the realization and the way she came about it, like talking to herself, essentially, which I said, as I said all along, I think it's great therapy to have a holodeck and be able to do these kind of programs.
That was a good payoff, yeah.
Hopefully, going forward, because she even says to herself in the simulation, if you were such a badass, you wouldn't shirk responsibility. You try to be the best damn officer you could be, and that's herself telling her that. And then the realization that yes, she cares about the ship, she cares about the crew, she cares about her mom.
And then it would also give us that, set her up in a certain way and then improve her, but through actual stories. But yeah, back to the start. So I was. First of all, for Prime Directive, though, they are obviously warp capable. We see them in TNG, so Prime Directive doesn't apply anyway. Then you've just got the non-interference value, which she obviously broke hands down. But why were they even in orbit of the planet? Like, she beamed down and a car with no one else there, toppled a regime by herself. They didn't realise, they didn't stop her. They were also in orbit, and then she beamed down.
I think it was probably one of those things where she was left there like a week ago to do a certain specific mission, went totally off on her own because it's Mariner, and solved the problems of the planet when she wasn't supposed to. And then the Cerritos showed back up and was like, what the hell is going on? It's one of those, because of the nature of the show, we don't necessarily get the build-ups or the reasons for why things are starting the way they are or whatever. Yeah. Right?
Weird scene, but it was just obviously to prove a point. But I like that Mariner thought the mum would like it. Those small things of I do want her to be happy with me. But we didn't get an answer yet as to why the mum is always disposed to distrust and dislike Mariner. And then she even says in the holodeck, you've been bad to me ever since I was 8. So obviously Mariner is broken because of her mum. So why is the mum broken against Mariner? It's chicken or the egg. Was Mariner an awful child or the mum was a bad mum?
Probably because of the divorce. Maybe she blames Mariner for it.
We assume. No information, but just to clarify, guys, we have no information.
Yes.
It's just a fun theory.
We're not sure if her and the Admiral are divorced, but we would assume so, that his last name is Mariner, and because we haven't got clarification of that. Divorces will do that sometimes. Parents might see the kid as being the issue or whatever and kind of take it out on them subtly or be harder on them because of it. So I think that might be something that we'll uncover later.
We got a slight progression in that storyline, but also we got more confusingness. And then to see the mum at the end, overreact even more is like, yeah, there's, you wonder which one's worse, because they're in a tug of war. But what if one stops and the other one keeps going, But obviously she knows her daughter better than we do after 20 years of her always being bad and annoying. She's obviously going to assume there's a ploy. But I did quite like when she said, sorry, Captain, and you could tell it was genuine. Like the acting subtlety of, yeah, she actually meant this, and we'll see, was nice. So, so I hope we don't move away from that. Make Rutherford more assertive, make Tendi more medical, make Boimler more able and less kiss ass, and make a Mariner less bad officer, I think would be good to move forward. And even, we could even get to the point in the show where, one of them gets lieutenant. Mariner Boimler gets lieutenant. The lower decks can still be lower but one.
There's some good holodeck stuff in this as well. When Tendi leaves the arch and the blood is instantly gone.
Yep.
Loved that.
Yep, because they explicitly say, let's go get changed. So the rules of the holodeck are explicitly followed, and it's gorgeous.
And even the whole ending with all the signatures from Star Trek's 6 style was awesome. Even Boimler's with a little delta above the eye instead of a heart.
It's a lovely little trying hard cringe, but it's like, yes. And even, the way they warp out at the start is just JJ. They just did the JJ warp. I mean, there's so many meta jokes of this is silly.
Yeah, the ship porn was really good. Very cinematic. Even the music was on point.
So close to TMP. It was such a wonderful, almost.
Yeah. The lens flare was great. The whole, the warp me, and then the fairy dust that was left behind, like JJ, was great. There were some really good movie tropes in this, and even the ridiculousness of the beaming. Well, we can do that in movies because the movies tend to do things that the show necessarily wouldn't, to ramp things up. And even when they're going through engineering and they're talking about all the sativa and the indica, those are like drugs, strains of weed. The indica, whatever they called it, and then this followed right by sativa, was great because I find the technobabble in the movies is a little bit more dumbed down for a general audience than it is in the show. So I thought that was hilarious as well. Just little hints like that were very cinematic, and I loved that. And
lots more depth of field. And I mean, it was genuinely shot like a movie, which is great. Like, it was very, very effective. And I appreciate that it was one big joke, but they did tone down the lens flares as they went. It was a very conscious choice to ground it and only use you sort of forgot you were looking at the movie about 3/4 in, and then certain bits reminded you. So it was a good balance. And the going around the ship was really good until that last 3 shots where they a really high spin. And you're just like, this is the stupid shot. Now they're making fun of. And we did see them go in the shuttle bay at the bottom, which I thought was going to be a point. Didn't see him still use the shuttle bay on the top, and it was such a close up. We know because we know the 3D model quite well, but they still don't. They're still not confident showing us the top shuttle bays, are they?
No, they're not, which is a shame. But yes, they did go in the engineering shuttle bay, which was great. And Olivia pointed this out yesterday when she saw it. It would have been great if when Mariner made the titles, it said Star Trek Mariner or something, and have Tindy go, "What's a Star Trek?" That would have been funny. That would have been a nice in-joke because they said Star Trek twice now in Star Trek.
On some kind of Star Trek?
Yeah, Picard said it in All Good Things, and Zephyr Cochrane said it in First Contact. So that would have been a nice little reference. And considering the show being Lower Decks and the meta references, I think that would have been funny. But
yeah, I think that would have been one step too. Well, it was one step too far because they didn't do it. But I get that they've done it twice. It would have been probably better if it had been a JJ reference, what was it called again? The Wrath of Vindica, and then just title, and then just a colon Beyond, or Into Vengeance. I would have rather, because it was obviously JJ movie inspired, which is great. They managed to get that through the censors. The CBS and Paramount allowed them to make fun of JJ. They did things that we know are wrong with the JJ films to show how silly they are in this. Lens flare, fairy dust. So it was more of those things are things we all know as fans are silly, and so they used them.
Most of the people at CBS don't necessarily know those are silly and know that they're being misused. Mr. McMahon. Well, yes. Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Although I was really hoping when she'd said we've been refitted, I was like, oh my god, we're gonna see a really sexy toned up version with all these. No, quite disappointed actually. I was expecting a really high end, the sexy Cerritos.
And even the whole, if this was actually happening, they'd send the Enterprise. But, artistic license.
That was good.
Was great.
That was good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like I said, the setup was really clever. And the end was good. And I thought the next time on was a really good tease. Because it is a 2-parter narratively. It's just, this whole thing was just about Mariner's mummy issues. That's it. That's all it was. And next week is dealing with the mummy issues. So it is a 2-parter, just a lot crammed into 20. And actually, it was longer. I was right. I hoped it was going to be longer, and it was 27 minutes. So
No, something else I just realized actually. The admiral that was in this was Mr. Sensors. He was the same admiral. It would have been nice to see Mariner's dad again. I'm wondering if Mariner even knows who her dad is at this point. Because it would have been interesting for her to have reprogrammed him in here somehow to make him look like an idiot, unless she really respects the guy, and then she still might have reprogrammed him in. That's probably a discussion for another video or another live, but I'm just wondering if she actually knows who her dad is, because there's been no talk of from her about her dad, or it's always been about her mom.
Yeah, it's never like, oh, dad would stand up to you. Yeah, you're right. It's interesting.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if she even knows that her dad's an admiral.
Or thinks he might be dead.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, that's something to explore at some other point. I just realized that as you were talking, and we were talking about that scene in the admiral's office.
Yeah. No, I assumed it'd be him too, just because we haven't seen him for like 5 seconds, and it's like
exactly.
He's also the guy from Family Guy, Futurama. Come on. I mean, he'll be at the end of the season. I'm absolutely sure. We'll have to see him in some way. Like, he'll probably start with the mum talking to the dad, saying, you know what, she's been good for the last week. She's up to something. No, she could be not. No, she's up to something. Like that sort of like, convoluted beginning to kind of match the end of the first episode.
Or it's my visitation next season or something. Yeah. So anyway, overall I really enjoyed this. I was wondering about the violence, if that would bother some people. I just it didn't really affect me. So I'm sorry that you didn't enjoy that part, but.
And I think the twist of bringing other Mariner in was a good, solid twist at the end. Yeah. And then the funeral thing was also a great twist. Although I can't see she would tell her crew that she was a daughter. Like, I don't know why she would suddenly tell her that. But that's okay. It had to be there. Like, she seems so...
Well, it's like the trope of the quick wrap-up at the end of every episode or every movie. Kind of getting all the information in there,
Yeah, it was definitely what they set out to do. They achieved really well. I think they went a couple of steps too far. My better was a second watch. And Strax's space bazooka was great. So
I call it a phaser railgun.
Sure. I like it.
Yeah. And speaking of, just before we close out, that was also great that we, in our prediction video, read out what was on the screen as far as the script goes, and it was all in there. It was really great.
I suddenly got, big movie. Moment.
Yeah, big movie budget gun was there. And even the exact lines, which were great.
I feel like we're going to have a scene where him and Michael Dorn as Worf are in a room doing a firing testing, and Worf's got his bazooka, and Strax walks in. He's like... And Strax like, look at your little rifle. Little?
Anyway, guys, put down in the comments what you thought about the episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you not? And list your reasons. We love reading them, and we love hearing what you guys think. Speaking of, if you want to join us tonight for our live at 5 Eastern Standard Time, please join us. We will be doing about a 2-hour, maybe a little longer for this one, just discussion-based, but 2-hour live where we break it down scene by scene and really talk about it. And we always glean new information that way and kind of maybe change our perspectives a little bit. So tune in for that. We love hearing your thoughts and inputs live and on the fly so that we can really engage with you guys. We got a great community. So speaking of, make sure you click that subscribe button. Don't forget to like the video. And if you can join the channel, please do so. There's lots of ways to help us out. So anyway, Samuel, handing it over to you.
Yes, support us directly if you can. We do all this content for free, everything. There's no paywalls, but it does rely on the generosity of you guys who want to see us keep going week after week, month after month, and new Trek show after new Trek show. Patreon is a really, really important way. Every month, donation goes in, it comes to us, that helps us keep going. Join the YouTube channel. If you go on the Super Chat, on the lives, you can. The button says join, super useful too. The direct super chats are a great way to talk to us directly. We always read them out, we always comment on them, and if you're a great point, we have a discussion about it, or a one-time donation at PayPal, which we get the most percentage of. So if you just want to help us out, that's trekyards@hotmail.com, that's the PayPal. And any of those ways help. If you can do all of them, some of them, that always helps. And if you can't do any of those, just join in, watch. Those views, those likes, those comments do help. And then just keep enjoying what we do.
That's right. So until next time, whenever that'll be for you guys, I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Connor Holmes. Bye, guys.
See you later.